Aloha, everyone. I'm Rick Kirkham of BusyBusinessPromotions.com, and I'm trying something different with my microphone. I hope it turns out right. But of all the topics that I could talk about, and by the way, you might hear my nephew. This is not a soundproof room. But of all the topics that I can talk about, this is probably the least popular, but that's probably a good thing for you. Okay, because this is about sales, not marketing. Sometimes people confuse the two. There's a difference between sales and marketing. The marketing department sends people to the sales departments, and the sales department makes them customers. Hope that helps. But today I want to talk about perceived value, which I titled "The Secret to Higher Prices and More Sales" by blah 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 me, sales psychology expert and creator of the actionable video analysis for increasing SEO and sales by yours truly, J. Richard Kirkham. But anyway, for most of you that have seen me do these videos, you know that I like to ad lib and I come up with more stuff that I want to talk about. Let me get my face out of the way here a little bit. Yeah, I definitely hear my nephew. I bet you guys can too. Now, here's the thing, it's not how much the product costs. Okay, in this age of instant business owner, I'm constantly seeing people, oh, I need to lower my price. People think it's too high. If someone thinks your price is too high, it's because you did not increase the perceived value. And I started saying, in this instant age of instant business owner, you're gonna basic sales techniques like increasing perceived value is unfortunately, and even soft sales, which I should probably do a video on too, but they unfortunately I can so hear my nephew, but unfortunately they're a rarity. And so if you know these things, you're going to have an edge on your competitors. Okay, so you have to increase the perceived value of the product. Okay, like I said in here, it doesn't matter how much a product or service costs as long as the perceived value of the product or service is higher than the cost. Now, in case you don't understand, the perceived value is how much the customer thinks something is worth. It's your job as a salesperson or as the owner to raise the perceived value as high as you possibly can. So, in other words, you can sell anything for however much you want to sell it for, as long as the perceived value is higher than the price. Now, some of you just got an epiphany. That's a wake up call, while others are trying to figure out how this can be wrong. I'm going to disagree with this guy, and there's no way that can be true. I'm sorry, it's true. We all buy things every day in which we understand the perceived value. Could be a candy bar, could be dinner out. We know the cost and we accept that as the perceived value. Now, there's two ways to have a higher perceived value than the cost of the product or service. First, you can lower the price. This is the go-to move of all of the instant business owners, the ones that have had no training. So you lower your price until your ICP, your ideal customer profile, would believe your product or service is worth it. Okay. This is not sustainable. Okay. The new customer or the prospective customer doesn't understand the expense in the back end of your business. You know, you've got website hosting to pay for. You've got me to pay for, but I'll actually make you money. Um, you've got maybe you're renting an office. maybe you have equipment rentals, all of these things people don't understand. And those things have to be maintained as well. Some things are on a subscription base. Some things have to be maintained, like your vehicle. If you're a service industry, you have to maintain your vehicle or you're not going to get there. And the average customer doesn't understand this. And they shouldn't have to. Okay. 2-for-1 price. Okay. That's another basic example of lowering the price. It's good for specials, but once again, it's not sustainable. And I don't think I mentioned this in here, but my old boss, when I worked for another company, R.I.P. Don, love you. Him and I agreed on something. That didn't always happen. But him and I agreed on something. We did not like specials for new customers. Okay, your old customers are the ones that keep you in business. They call you up again. It's a lot harder and costs a lot more money to get a new customer than it does to get repeat business and to get referrals. Okay, by the way, don't forget to ask for referrals and don't forget to ask for reviews. These are two really important, helpful things. Back to where I was. So yeah, like I said, 2-for-1 is not sustainable either. So the other way to do this is to increase the perceived value of your product or service until the perceived value is greater than the cost of your prospective buyer, that what he thinks is or she thinks is supposed to be the cost of the product. Okay, so there's several ways to do this. Okay, offer bonuses. Experienced affiliate marketers do this all the time. If you buy this from me, I'll give you this and this and this and this. Okay. Experience increases the perceived value. Okay. I am personally one of the few people who have been in computers since 1993 and had to learn SEO on my own because there weren't any experts out there. I spent over 30 years in sales before I finally broke out on my own. And I still love sales, and I love sales psychology. That's not the example I used here. I'm actually a dual certified teacher as well. That's what I went to college for, to be a teacher. And I don't teach full-time anymore. I substitute teach. But one of my 3 businesses has my heart. Okay, I'm academic in-home tutor specializing in students with ADHD because I have ADHD. In fact, that's how I can run 3 businesses. But yeah, so I mentioned that in the example. So, and in this example, I remembered that I once had a fellow in-home tutor, and one specializing in ADHD or anything, but she wanted some advice on a parent that was always trying to get her to lower the price. So here's what I told her. I said, for that price, you could hire a college student. I'm sure they'd appreciate the experience. Now, what did I infer? Okay, I inferred that tutor's experience had value and that mom was not doing her child justice by hiring the college student for that price because of that college student's lack of experience. Okay, uniqueness or rarity increases perceived value. Okay, this time I did use that example here. J. Richard Kirkham, BSc, is one of the few SEO experts with a strong background in sales psychology. He will not only target traffic to your website, he'll also increase your sales with the traffic you have now. Okay, so once again, experience. Okay, hold on just a sec. Whoa, my meeting got disconnected. Okay, that's all right. We're going to keep going here anyway. I still remember this story of the door-to-door vacuum cleaner salesman who made over $100,000 a year. Okay, and let me tell you what happened. This was a cassette tape. That's how old this was. And what happened was the average vacuum cleaner salesman would give a price, and then they would go out and they would say, here's the vacuum cleaner, is $2,500 or whatever the price was. And then the person would say, oh no, that's too much. So they would immediately start removing attachments. So like they would build up the price by saying you get this attachment and this attachment, and this attachment here takes your dog for a walk, and all that other stuff. But then they would start taking attachments away and reducing the perceived value of the vacuum cleaner, along with reducing the price of the vacuum cleaner. Okay. Now, what this guy did that increased, made $100,000 a year, he would start out with the vacuum cleaner itself, just a vacuum cleaner, at the original price. Okay, here's the vacuum cleaner, $2,500, or whatever the price was. And of course, the person would say, well, that's too much money. And then that salesman would start adding the attachments. Okay. Well, you know what? I used to think that was a lot of money too, and I think you might be right. So let me throw in this doohickey here that takes your dog for a walk, and this doohickey here that cleans your ceiling for you, or whatever. And he'll just keep adding stuff until the person is looking at all these attachments and realizes, whoa, I've got $2,500 worth of stuff here. I want to buy this. So that's how that salesman made $100,000 a year. Okay, now, would you like to increase the perceived value of your product or service? Of course you would. Okay, so I finally have some openings for this video analysis that I do. And yeah, they might sound like this, who knows? But the video analysis of sales and SEO techniques for your website, this is a great way to have a person weird enough, such as myself, to have expertise in both sales psychology and SEO if you want to change and make more money. Okay? If you want to change and make more money, you've got to do something different. Okay? I'm that change and different one you want. Okay, now here's an interesting question. Is weird another way to say unique? Yeah, kind of a humorous way to say unique, right? So did that increase my perceived value by saying I'm weird enough to have expertise in SEO and sales psychology? Yes, I am weird enough. So get a hold of me for this. I'll leave a link for you, and let's help some more people become your customers so that you can make even more money. And that's it. So aloha. God bless you all.